Back in 2005, the FDA approved a cancer drug known as Nexavar. It helps treat those who have late-stage kidney and liver cancer. Well, unfortunately, this treatment comes with a huge price tag. It costs about $69,000 a year at minimum for someone in the U.S. to take it. Well, India, the country of India, has a law that allows a different company to take out a patent and create the same drug if the Western company or the Western pharmaceutical company is charging too much for it. So an Indian court recently granted a patent to a company known as Natco Pharma Limited because they wanted to ensure that its people would be able to use the drug. So instead of having to pay $69,000 for it, the people of India can get it for $177, which is a huge difference.
So let me jump in here to say a couple of fun facts. That's a 97% discount.
Yes.
So I understand why Bayer is upset. The amazing part is the CEO statement we're going to get to in a second. But here's one other interesting fact. If they paid the full price of $69,000, that would be 41 times the country's annual per capita income.
Yep.
41 times their per capita income. Isn't that amazing? And Bayer thinks, yeah, you know, you'll be able to afford that. Like 2 people in India will be able to afford that. Okay, so the CEO of Bayer gets upset at this ruling and says something that is unbelievable.
So the CEO was actually speaking to Bloomberg Business Week, and he is trying to appeal the Indian court's decision to allow this patent for another company. He said the following: "We did not develop this medicine for Indians. We developed it for Western patients who can afford it."
Oh, and look at that face. That's the kind of face that would say a thing like that. Doesn't he look so smug? Like, oh, please, we didn't develop this for Indians. We developed it for Westerners who are rich.
But isn't that a perfect example for people who try to argue that we should deregulate all private industry, right? Because the argument against that is, look, corporations, pharmaceutical companies, it's not that they're immoral, they're amoral, right? Even though in this case, what he said, in my opinion, is immoral. They care about their profit. The profit motive gets rid of any type of morality. He doesn't care how many people are going to die because they can't afford this cancer treatment. He cares about how much his company is going to make. The all that matters.
So it's fascinating and a little ironic in this case because the company actually needs regulation to survive. Because in the case of patents, what is it? It's regulation saying that, hey, look, people can't rip you off. Now, understand that Bayer has a reasonable expectation of profit here. And so let's be fair to them, right? So they spent a lot of money developing this drug. It's not that the drug costs so much to make, it's that it costs so much to actually create, right? And a lot of drugs that they spent a lot of money trying to create didn't work out. So they got to make up for that.
Yes.
Okay. So we all understand that, and we understand that they need a patent, right? But $69,000 a year. See, but when
per person, yeah.
Yeah. When you violate all bounds of reason, right? And people are dying. They're dying without this drug in India. And then you say, I'm sorry, it's not for you Indians. It's for us Westerners. Well, then that's what a court is going to come in and say, hey, listen, I know we set up the regulation to protect you, but now we're going to have to do some regulation to protect our citizens. And then they go, oh, I can't believe you're doing regulation.
Yeah. So I want to make a point about how, you know, of course he said this is for Westerners, but the second part was the most relevant to me, that can afford it, that can pay for it. So it doesn't matter. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, white versus black, white versus Indian, whatever, Westerner versus Indian, all of that stuff doesn't really matter. Again, it always goes back to the cost. It always goes back to who can afford it. If you're a second-class citizen, if you are part of the working poor, or if you're part of the middle class that can't afford $69,000 a year, because let's keep it real, how many people even make $69,000 a year in the United States with our stagnant wages and all of that, right? I mean, to think that someone can be so open about how he's okay with people dying because they don't have the means to afford this cancer treatment is disgusting. He's the kind of person that, you know, we should be talking about in the mainstream media, tearing him apart. You know, instead we're having conversations about Wendy Davis and whether or not there were discrepancies in her biography. So stupid.
Okay, so let me clarify a couple of important things. You know, so $177 per person in India, well, it seems like that's not that much, right? Especially given what they're trying to charge But you know that in America, if you have insurance, you know what you pay? You pay only $100. You actually pay less than the average Indian does, even with their ruling. Now, who pays the rest? The insurance companies do. So it actually costs $96,000 a year on average, but the insurance companies cover that. But it's not like the insurance companies do it for free. That's what drives up our insurance prices, right? So now the average guy getting it here actually gets a better price than India, but we all pay that price because we all pay into the insurance. So in the end, we get screwed too. So look, they have a reasonable expectation of profit, and there's a good reason for patents. But when you abuse it this much, it obviously produces a counter-reaction. Now, you think you're going to help that counter-reaction with what you said? I got bad news for you, CEO of Bayer. You're never going to win in an Indian court ever again. All they're going to do is, in that appeal, all the lawyer has to come in and read that quote.
Oh, yeah.
We did not develop this medicine for Indians. We developed it for Western patients who can afford it. And the judge is going to be like, oh, yeah, that's interesting, yeah. Yeah, okay, gone. End of this. You know what? It used to be $177. It's now 177 cents.